Hello, dear class. I thought maybe I should take a moment in this rather dramatic lighting with the darkness all around me this morning and pouring rain on our forest dwelling to think about Greek theatre and the play that you're reading, about to read, by old Sophocles. So, a word about how Greek drama came to exist. We don't know exactly when theatre began or how or why. There was sacred drama in ancient Egypt. The search for the pieces of Osiris, whose sister Isis, after the bad boy of the family, Set, had chopped Osiris into pieces, took it on herself to find all the bits of him and put them together. But there was one crucial bit, and I will leave it to you to imagine which it could have been, that couldn't be found. And it had been thrown into the Nile and swallowed by a crocodile. Anyway, that was a problem. Forgive me. If my youngest daughter could see me, she'd be furious that I was touching my face, still at this stage of the plague. So there was sacred drama. How this morphed into what you have in front of you, a rather modern opening scene between two sisters fighting over an important issue. How it morphed into that we don't know, but it's possible that when villages sang together, and human beings have been singing together for a very long time, when they gathered together on the threshing floor to thresh the grain from the harvest, they sang together, and maybe there was a protagonist, the solo speaker, who sang the lead, as it were, and maybe this prompted one day when the harvest was not so good, one year, an antagonist to get up and say, well, actually, this harvest was a mess, and I'll tell you why, because we didn't placate the gods. And then the protagonist would say, but we did, this is the work of arbitrary gods. I don't know what the antagonist would have said, or the protagonist, and we don't know how it all began, but it soon became a contest for the best play. Tragedy, the word that describes these early plays, is based on the word for goat, tragos. Goat song it is, because the winner of the contest for the best won a goat, a meaningful prize in ancient Greece, a meaningful prize in many parts of the world, where goat is still the most commonly eaten meat around the globe. I know because I was a goat breeder for very many years. And when I was traveling in North Africa, I went with a family who had let me stay with them to a market, and I was prevailed upon to buy them a goat, and very happy everybody was too. Good meat, and you can use every part of the creature on something. So, goat song. And this developed gradually, we imagine, although we don't have a great deal of evidence, into plays performed in the 5th century before Christ, as we used to say, before the Common Era, whatever that is, they say now. And the second of the three great playwrights whose work we have, entire pieces of whose work we have, was Sophocles. And we worry a lot, scholars and readers generally, about what happened to all the plays of which we don't have copies. But it's also said that we probably have the best ones, because most copies were made of those best ones. Aeschylus, or Aeschylus as Americans call him for reasons beyond my understanding, who we will read later in this course, wrote the earliest great plays, and he was followed by a younger man, Sophocles, who outpointed him, who beat him to the prize, the great prize that took place based on performances during 3 days of the Festival of Dionysus in the Theatre of Dionysus, which you can still visit in ancient Athens. So these plays were largely about remote historical subjects, not always, not in every case, but in many cases, the Homeric world, the world of the war of Troy, and such things, and what happened soon thereafter. Stories known to the whole audience, who still found a thrill in seeing them acted out. So these actors performed in masks, which made for a great discipline of learning how to modulate their voice. But to a theatre artfully built, where you might have 15,000 people, it's said that you could hear a whisper at the very back, the very top of the theatre. And having a mask on, rather than restricting the audience's understanding, and modern audiences find this when they see a play performed in masks, rather than restricting their understanding of the psychology of the character, the masked character speaking, it in fact prompts the audience to try and figure out what do they really feel. And that's true of normal human non-masked. Of course, masks now have a different medical and social function, but it's true of us now. Even when we have a face to scan, to try and interpret, even if it's a smiling face or a frowning face, what are they really thinking? It's for us to construe, and sometimes the voice betrays more than the face does. So these masked characters, very beautiful, very expressive masks, not dead and inert masks, came before them. And as you'll see when you start to read the Antigone, it's a very modern scene. It opens not with some great oration by a king. It opens with two girls who are frightened and trying to figure out what to do, since the battle for their city has come to an end with the death of both of their brothers. All four of them, the brothers and the girls, children of the ill-fated Oedipus, of whom you may know something, who was fated to kill his father and marry his mother, and did so, all unknowing, producing the story of Oedipus, which Sophocles and other playwrights also wrote. And that's a play about fate and what we can do, how to deal with the impenetrability of our fate. Did Oedipus help his fate along, or was he the innocent victim? An important play which you might have thought would be written before the story of Oedipus's children, but not at all. In fact, Sophocles wrote the Antigone before he wrote his Oedipus. Nonetheless, he knew, and the audience all knew, that these girls, the mild-mannered and obedient Ismene, and the fierce and passionate and resistant Antigone, came from a terrible story of which they're well aware. And the king of the city, Creon, has become king not at all through his own wishes. He was harmlessly the brother of Jocasta, who was the queen of the city. And so when Oedipus, having killed his father, all unknowing, on the road, arrived in the city of Thebes, he found there was an unmarried, and now newly unmarried, queen. He had no idea this was the wife of the man he just killed on the road. Less idea, indeed, that that man had been his father, or that this woman was his mother, whom he took as a wife. And so their ill-fated children, the two sons, were due to take turns as king of Thebes, but they fell out over it. And it's a complicated story which ought to be relevant, really. Who was in the right in the civil war over Thebes? But it isn't in this play. This play is entirely about it's about duty. It's about the rival claims of family and state. And as you'll see, Ismene is inclined to bow to the state. Antigone feels her duty is to the family. And this issue makes the background story, the civil war, and which of the brothers was right. Was the brother who stayed on after his one-year term had ended right or wrong? Was the brother who took arms against his own city right or wrong? They killed each other, and the issue is, as you'll see, that the king, Creon, Oedipus's brother-in-law, who never wanted to be king, says, okay, I'm the law now, and we are not going to bury the bad boy who came with an army to attack us. And this creates the issue which you will then read about and see how it is resolved and the horrors that it brings in its wake. A very modern story, nonetheless. There's a wonderful version of the play written during the Second World War by Jean Anouilh, a great French playwright, in which Antigone is a member of the French resistance and Creon is the German commander occupying Paris. And it's possible to see how completely the issues live today and challenges to understand them. So there's much more to be said, of course, about Greek theatre. The festival was just once a year. You couldn't decide, oh, I think we'll go and see Antigone tonight, or should we have a Chinese meal instead? It was just the 3 days, and it began with the effigy of Dionysus, whose theatre it was, the god. When the effigy was sat in its proper seat, then the festival could begin. Dionysus, the god of trance and wine and theatre and illusion and dream, very important god. So that heralded the 3 days of the festival. Each playwright produced the playwrights, that is, who were chosen to be performed, wrote 3 plays and a satire play, a comedy, to relieve everyone of the agony left in their hearts by the display of human inhumanity to man, and the horrors and the difficulty of being human. Really the most painful violence humans can enact against each other were demonstrated in this theatre. They rightly went for the jugular of the human condition, and we have been limping in their wake as dramatists and as audiences ever since. If you become a lover of Greek tragedy, you will find an entire world of literature there that almost makes Shakespeare himself seem redundant. It's all there in these extraordinary writers. I hope you can find a translation that makes them bearable to read. I hope you will find the play enthralling. We will come back, since this is not only an asynchronous course but an achronological course. We're not following in any proper chronological order, since after coming to America, I've spent half my life here, but coming most recently 30 years ago, I discovered that colleges taught everything completely out of order. So, and this was very offensive to me, having had to study literature in strict order from Beowulf to T.S. Eliot, marching along with time. And it's taken me a long time, grudgingly, to see the interest in actually studying things completely out of order, which is what we're going to do this semester. And I shall have reason to talk to you about this, but more particularly about what it is in the works of literature that I'm asking you to read. And I do hope they're not too strange and foreign to you, and I do hope that the reading experience itself is not too strange and foreign to you. We will want to come back to the issue of the Western literary tradition, which certainly starts here. It probably doesn't start in ancient Egypt with the Osiris myth. It may be said to start with Homer, with the Iliad, the fall of Troy, and the Odyssey, with the return of Ulysses to his home. And those adventures are maybe the very beginning, but they take a lot of time to read. And here we have a nicely encapsulated play, which we can think of in terms of the Western tradition, whatever that might be figured to be, and in terms of the other works that we'll be reading through the semester. So enjoy, I hope. I'll be thinking of you tackling this play, and hoping that this isn't too bitter and strange an experience. And I will get back to you with another of these videos before too very long, and I shall certainly be thinking of you between now and then. So enjoy. I hope the rain stops. I hope you keep yourself safe. That's the most important thing here to me. Don't go out reveling, please, not yet, or if you must, go out masked and socially distanced, and stay alive and stay well, stay safe. Goodbye now for the moment.